Good morning. Welcome to the Community Review on Hot 92.3. I'm host Cepha Salinas, your host. The 6-step back pain rescue plan. Now, I know that I have piqued the interest of just about everybody out there because at some point, even my son who's 15 has said, "Oh, my back hurts. Oh, my neck aches." So there's got to be a way to get over it. How about fixing it without drugs or surgery? On the phone with us, it's Jesse. And Jesse, say your last name for me.
It's Canone.
Canone. Jesse Canone, author of The 7-Day Back Pain Cure. Good morning.
Thanks for having me.
Oh, I'm telling you, this is like such news for me because I have been suffering with back pain my whole life. And then I had brain surgery 6 years ago. And, when they cut your head open, they cut all of those muscles in your head and in your neck.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't care what anybody says, they're never put back together right.
No, in fact,
just,
I was just going to say you're right. I was just talking to a gentleman who works for me whose wife is about to have a baby, and they're contemplating whether or not they should do a C-section. And I was telling him the same thing: avoid it at all costs if possible, because once the muscles are cut, they will never heal back 100% as they were before they were cut, and so you always have some long-lasting kind of side effects, if you will, from any type of a procedure or operation like that.
Oh, yeah. I actually have like little muscle spasms in the muscles in my neck and in the back of my head. I'll turn the wrong way and I can feel it. It's just like it's always there and you can tell. And I know it's because they were all cut through.
Right.
So, that's a neck pain. I've had cervical, and lumbar disc things. So I know back pain. And
right.
I know that everybody's had some kind of back or neck pain at some point in their life. So let's talk about it. Let's go through the steps of how we can help people. First of all, your book is great. The 6-step back pain rescue plan. Incredible. So let's talk about the steps. Step 1, reducing the pain as soon as possible.
Yeah, so most people do this. The problem usually arises with how they go about it. But before we kind of talk about other ways you can deal with it, one thing I want to say is one of the biggest mistakes people make is that they stop at this point. They never go beyond this. So they'll do something to get temporary relief. They'll go to the doctor and maybe get a prescription medication, or they might go to physical therapy and do electrical stimulation and ultrasound and hot packs and whatever. So they'll take action to reduce the pain because obviously it hurts, but they stop after the pain goes away. And that's one of the biggest mistakes because the pain will always return unless you identify and address the underlying causes. And almost always the actions that people take to reduce the pain don't address those causes.
Right.
They're typically just symptomatic relief. So if you want, we could talk a little bit more about the mistakes people make with how they actually go about getting the immediate pain relief.
Yeah, let's talk a little bit about those mistakes because I'm sure everybody's got their own remedy, like, oh, do this, oh, do that. Everyone has a suggestion of what you should do when you say your back or your neck hurts.
Right. So that's a good point. The first thing I would say is many things work. And so I never dismiss anything that somebody throws out there as working for them. I always look into it and research it and see what else I can find out about it and how effective it might be. So that's one thing. There many things work. My general kind of rule of thumb for people or guideline is go with the least invasive and least potentially dangerous things first. So, you don't need to go straight to the heavy-duty prescription drugs, the first day or the first couple of days. There are many other things you can do to reduce the pain, if not as effectively, pretty close, sometimes even more effectively, and without the higher risk that the medications come with. So I always like to say, save the drugs and the surgery for much, much, much later. There's so many other things that you can do that work well, and you might not ever need to get to that point,
Wow. Okay, let's talk about step 2 is generally muscle balancing exercises. It helps if you have a strong back and neck to help your body stay in position and in place.
Right. And so this is one of the biggest, what I call hidden causes that, anybody who's listening who's had back or neck pain, they've probably not ever heard these two words, and if they have, it's very rare. So, most people when they have back pain or neck pain, they go to the doctor. The doctor is not even aware him or herself most likely of those two words, muscle imbalances, but it's responsible for the majority of physical aches and pains, not just back pain. So whether it's foot problems, knee problems, elbow problems, shoulder problems, you name it. Muscle imbalances are one of the biggest physical causes. And I like to break the various causes down into three types: physical, nutritional or diet, and then emotional. And I'm not saying emotions meaning the pain is in your head. Not that at all. Emotions meaning how your emotions and your stress affects your body physically.
Oh, and I could not agree with that more, because the minute I am stressed or I get angry, it's like my head is my trigger now.
Right.
That immediately starts tensing up right there in the back of my head, and it goes down into my neck. And if it stays tense, it gets into my shoulder, and then it goes into the other shoulder, and then it's down my back. And before I know it, I'm like all wound up.
Right. So we talk about muscle imbalances. Like I said, they're probably the single biggest physical cause of all types of aches and pains, not just back pain. And most people, again, are not hearing about it. And so that's one of the main things that I teach people, is that when muscles are out of balance, they pull your body out of alignment. When your body's out of alignment, it's forced to function in what we call a dysfunctional way. So every day, everything you do, you've got this extra wear and tear that's happening in your body. It's happening on the muscles, it's happening on the bones, the joints, the ligaments, and all that, all because of a slight, a slight degree of your body being out of alignment.
And it can just be a little bit too, right?
Oh, it could be a hair. In fact, for instance, you can have muscle imbalances that are causing a disc to herniate, right, or bulge. So you've got a herniated or bulging disc putting pressure on a nerve. All it takes sometimes is a teeny-weeny improvement in your muscle imbalances to release some of the pressure on the spine or some of the torsion on the spine, and the disc can kind of suck itself back in a little bit, and all it takes is a hair to get the pressure off the nerve. Now, again, I would not recommend you stop there once you get relief. You want to continue to get as much improvement as you possibly can. But the point is, you're right, it does not take a lot of change or improvement to get rid of the pain. And in many cases, in fact, the majority of the success stories that we have come from our program called Lose the Back Pain, where we teach people how to identify and address their muscle imbalances. And almost all these success stories all start out with, I can't believe I got relief in the first day or the first 2 days, and all these, people who had suffered for 30, 40, 50 years, and they're getting relief with one stretch in one day. It seems almost too good to be true, but it's not, and that's because most people have never dealt with the muscle imbalances. So once you do, it's dramatic improvements quickly.
Oh, yeah. When you think about it, your muscles are what hold everything together.
Right. And this is one of the things that most people, they don't think about. They go to the chiropractor maybe, and the chiropractor says, oh, your spine's out of alignment. I'm going to manipulate it back into place, make an adjustment. And that works temporarily. But the muscles that pulled that out of place to begin with will pull it right back into place again. And so 2 to 3 days later, you got to go back to the chiropractor again because you're out of alignment already. And in fact, we've even done some experiments where people are, back out of alignment within hours of their chiropractic manipulation or adjustment. So in order for the manipulations to be effective, we say combine it with muscle balance therapy. And so that's where you're addressing the muscle piece, because, again, the muscles pull the bones out of alignment. The bones just don't, kind of float around on their own,
Now let's talk about decompressing the spine.
Right.
How do we work on that?
Yeah, so that's step 3. The goal there is to take the pressure off the discs. And there's several ways you do that. Decompression can be achieved through various types of physical therapy. So chiropractors and physical therapists can also, can often apply traction. It's referred to as traction sometimes, and where they're basically kind of stretching out your body and stretching out the spine and increasing the space in between the vertebrae to give the discs some fresh blood and some room to, if they're bulging, to kind of pop back in. And so traction is one way. Another way is through different physical pieces of equipment, like an inversion table, for instance. There's another device that we recommend called the Nubax, which is a device that allows you to decompress the middle and lower portion of the spine, but without having to hang upside down, like on an inversion table.
Right.
You could even use an exercise ball, one of those Swiss exercise balls, to get some traction. Again, all these things work in slightly different ways, but the point that I'm trying to emphasize here is decompressing the spine is important, even if you don't have back pain. So if you want one of the best things you can do to prevent back pain, muscle balances, and decompression. Those are two of the biggest things you can do to prevent and or get rid of any type of back or neck pain.
Step 5 talks about resolving negative emotions and mental stress. Good luck with that one. But
Right.
How can we help ourselves get into a better mental state?
Yeah, this is probably one of the biggest roadblocks that people face in trying to get rid of, various types of pain, in particular chronic pain. Most people don't want to deal with it because it's actually more painful. It's more painful to deal with these issues than it is to deal with the physical stuff. So somebody will get on an inversion table, they'll do the stretches, they'll do the exercises, they'll do the therapies, but ask them to deal with, bad relationships or, bad emotions that they've got that are, maybe dating back to childhood, and they don't want to do it. And this is what keeps the majority of people stuck in pain. So it's huge. I put a lot of emphasis on it, and from doing this for as many years as I have with thousands and thousands of people now, we know without a doubt it is the biggest single factor that keeps people from getting relief. Some quick tips are, it's not about being stress-free because that doesn't really exist. Stress is actually important. It's just the right amounts, the right types, at the right times. So you want to really kind of exclude or minimize as much of the negative stress as possible. So if you have a job and there's a bunch of really negative people there and there's no way you can avoid them, then get a new job, and don't say there's no job. You can always find another job. People don't realize how much of a factor that could be keeping this person in pain. And simply by replacing that negative energy with positive energy, and again, if it takes getting a new job, fine. If it takes getting a new husband or wife or partner, that might be required also. And people, again, it's not easy, but people really need to understand how big a factor it is.
Exactly. Now, do you think that there's a relation between all of these, like back pain, neck pain, and then headaches?
Oh, absolutely. And many health conditions are kind of intertwined. So you have a lot of people who might have back pain and they're taking prescription medications. So they might have headaches from the medication. They're probably constipated from the medication. And then there's other long-term risks that come with, continued use of the medication. So, many things, as you said earlier, are connected. Just like all the muscles are connected, and you have to look at the body as a whole. With health conditions, you don't want to look at just one thing. And so I kind of call it tunnel vision. So, it's just like when you go to the doctor with the pain in the arm, they're only looking at your arm. Well, you've got to look at everything, every aspect of your life, your daily activities, your stress level, emotions, your diet. We didn't even talk about that. And actually, that brings us to step 6, which is the diet. Another big, huge factor that, is often overlooked. If you go to the doctor for back pain, they are not asking you about your diet, and they should be, because your diet can have a direct impact on your pain, and it, in fact, can even cause pain. So, for instance, many people have been led to believe that they need calcium. So everybody doesn't want osteoporosis, so they're taking all their calcium supplements, right?
Right.
Well, a lot of people who have back pain because of calcification. So things like stenosis and bone spurs, that results when the body either has too much calcium or it can't utilize the calcium that it has. And so the excess builds up. Instead of being used in various chemical processes in the body, it instead piles up. And so a lot of people can get rid of their back pain or significant pain relief just by stopping calcium supplementation and cutting out the dairy. And ideally, what I really recommend what I recommend in my book is to have your mineral levels tested. And so, it's easy to do. There's various home health kits where they'll mail it to you. You snip some of your hair in various places. You mail it away to the lab, and they analyze your mineral levels. Most people don't need calcium. Most people need magnesium, and they have too much calcium. And because they don't have enough magnesium, they can't utilize the calcium they have, and this contributes to pain. So we have tons and tons of stories from people who stop drinking milk and stop eating dairy and stop taking their calcium supplement, and their back pain goes away. And many other aches and pains as well. This is not just back pain. This is throughout your body.
Now, you say that there's also a problem with, sugar. Everybody knows sugar is one of our biggest enemies, excess sugar, because sugar triggers so much in the body.
Yeah. There's sugar is just one example, but there's lots of foods that kind of keep the body in a constant state of inflammation. So you've got sugar. For many people, gluten and wheat products. Anything that's heavily processed, you just want to avoid. One, it's got lots of things in there that you probably don't want, additives, chemicals, and all that. And all these things can keep you in this constant state of inflammation. Another tip that I'll mention is digestive enzymes. Most people don't get enough digestive enzymes, and so their body has a hard time breaking down various types of foods. And so, for instance, many people who are sensitive to gluten and wheat and things like this aren't if they would supplement at every meal with a digestive enzyme. But whenever you have these things creating this constant inflammation in your body, you're basically kind of telling your own immune system to attack these foods because it currently, with the materials that it has available, it can't break it down effectively. And so there's always this constant little cycle of inflammation every time you eat. So two tips is digestive enzyme at least once a day, if not with every meal. And then two, cut out a lot of the junk, the sugar, the gluten and the wheat and all that, anything processed, and focus on whole, fresh, organic foods, whenever possible.
Now, I would imagine that a lot of this information, like the home health kit, because that immediately piqued my interest, like, oh, gosh, I can get all those minerals tested. That's great.
Yeah.
Can we find this on your website, freebackpainCureBook.com?
You can. In fact, yeah. So almost all of this, and plus a lot more, is covered in my book, The 7-Day Back Pain Cure, which anybody listening who's interested can get a free copy of the actual paperback copy of the book, or you can buy it, of course, online at places like Amazon. But yeah, if they go to the website, they can get a free copy of the print book.
Oh, and now the website itself is losethebackpain.com.
Yeah, they could go there, or if they want to go directly to the free book option, that would be the other website, which is freebackpainCureBook.com. That'll take them right to the free book.
Wow. Okay, so for everybody in the listening audience right now, get this book. If you don't have don't tell me you don't have back pain. Everybody has some back pain or neck pain or a headache at some point in their life. So don't even try to tell me that you don't have any back pain. You might not have it right now. You will.
Right.
So this is going to be a great opportunity to get this book for free, freebackpainCureBook.com. I'll make sure that link is up on my webpage. The other information, losethebackpain.com. There's a blog there, all kinds of things that Jesse has put together, and I would imagine a lot more information is there. Jesse, you have been a wealth of information this morning. Thank you so much. I have read the book. It's fabulous. I have implemented a lot of your theories and practices into my everyday life now, and there were actually some things that I was doing that I had stopped doing and realized, wow, I didn't used to have this kind of pain, but I used to do this, and you've reminded me the things that I need to start doing again, and I've started doing them, and it's amazing how the back pain is alleviated. Now we just got to convince everybody else, and please make sure that you come back and see us anytime you have more information, because everybody's not going to listen the first time. We're probably going to have to tell them all again.
Yeah, no, I'm happy to. I could talk for hours and hours and hours about this stuff. So,
all right, Jesse, certified fitness trainer, post-rehabilitation specialist, and co-founder of the Healthy Back Institute. Thank you so much for being with us this morning. We look forward to having you back.
Oh, yeah, thanks again. It was great.
Stick around. John Burroughs High School is coming up next. Why? Because they're headed off to Beijing, China, courtesy of the Community Review and Hot 92.3.